Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, Bulgaria, World War I. Let's do it. Shorter video than usual. I'm Connor if you're new. Hello, all the buttons, all the things. Let's go.
The war is over a year old, and yet it continues to grow larger each month. And in spite of the colossal carnage and casualties, nations that were neutral still
I want to make sure that's not too loud.
join on both sides. One such nation was Bulgaria, who declared war and joined the Central Powers on October 11, 1915. And since you might be wondering what exactly led up to that declaration, that's what I'm talking about.
Guys, I gotta...
Nations that were neutral. The war is over a year old, and yet it continues to grow larger each month. And in spite of the colossal carnage and casualties, nations that were neutral still join on both sides. One such nation was Bulgaria, who declared war and joined the Central Powers on October 11, 1915. And since you might be wondering what exactly led up to that declaration, that's what I'm talking about today.
I mean, you're squished in between. Where's Romania side? I mean, you do have Serbia right there. What was the fate of Serbia after World War I? Anyways, all right. Let's go.
I'm Indy Nidell. Welcome to a Great War special episode about Bulgaria and its entry into the war.
Thank you.
Bulgaria's reasons for joining the war can be directly traced back to 1878, when the Treaty of San Stefano put an end to the Russo-Turkish War. This treaty created the Principality of Bulgaria after more than 500 years of Ottoman rule, and it stated that all territories that had a majority population of Bulgarians would now be part of the new Bulgaria.
I asked about the Russo-Turkish War, and someone responded which one. So I'm guessing there are many.
Great news for Bulgarians, but this treaty was a preliminary one, which Russia had only intended to be temporary. And when the Berlin Congress a few months later divided many of those Bulgarian territories, it was a real insult.
I gotta shut up with my stupid comments because I miss crucial things. All right, I will.
That all territories that had a majority population of Bulgarians would now be part of the new Bulgaria. Great news for Bulgarians, but this treaty was a preliminary one, which Russia had only intended to be temporary. And when the Berlin Congress a few months later divided many of those Bulgarian territories, it was a real insult, especially the creation of the autonomous province of Eastern Rumelia, which is in today's southern Bulgaria, which was home to some of the biggest Bulgarian revolutionary movements. For the next 40 years, Bulgaria would be focused on trying to regain and unite all those territories. Eastern Rumelia was, in fact, annexed by Bulgaria in 1885, and Bulgaria finally, officially became independent from the Ottoman Empire in 1908. But the struggle for total Bulgarian reunification culminated in the two Balkan Wars of 1912 and 1913, which were even known to Bulgarians as the Wars for National Unification, a name that includes the First World War. In 1912, the population greeted news of mobilization for the First Balkan War against the Ottoman Empire with great enthusiasm. More than 600,000 men were mobilized, and with Bulgarian victories during the war, there was a real feeling that nothing could stop them. In fact, when the army reached the outskirts of Constantinople, Bulgarian King Ferdinand ordered the construction of a giant white cross to be put on top of Hagia Sophia, the ancient church built by Eastern Roman Emperor Justinian that had now been a mosque for over 400 years, when the city fell. That never came to pass. It was King Ferdinand's over-ambitions that would soon lead to the Second Balkan War. Now, Serbia and Greece had promised most of Macedonia to Bulgaria after the First War, but had reneged on that, prompting Ferdinand to again go to war. But his attack was so premature that high-ranking officers in the Army General Staff weren't aware of it until it had already begun, and it led to disaster. Bulgaria was at first defeated in the field by Serbia and Greece. There were massacres of civilians on both sides, and the fighting created hundreds of thousands of refugees. Now, just as the tide was turning against the Greek army, Romania declared war on Bulgaria. See, Bulgaria had done exactly what Greece and Serbia did, promising to give Silistra to Romania after the First War and then reneging. So now, the Romanians invaded Bulgaria, and since the entire Bulgarian army was fighting Serbia and Greece, the Romanians overran the whole northern half of Bulgaria with no resistance, and captured and held southern Dobruja. In Bulgarian history, this is known as the First National Catastrophe. So, Ferdinand's kingdom, after the Second War, was smaller, economically in crisis, and flooded with refugees. When the World War broke out soon after, Bulgaria was quick to declare neutrality, being in pretty much no state to conduct another war. Now, as the World War progressed, Bulgaria's strategic value grew and grew, since she could easily attack either Serbia or the Ottoman Empire. So both the Allies and the Central Powers made overtures. Thing is, almost all of the territory Bulgaria wanted was in Allied or Allied-leaning countries.
So Bulgaria got weakened by these conflicts. And then as a weakened Bulgaria was seen, you know, blood in the water for a great either defensive or offensive point for either side of the World War, or even wars previous to the World War. And so it was seen as a great objective for both sides to get a hold on. Okay.
Serbia, Greece, or Romania. The Allied or Allied-leaning countries, Serbia, Greece, or Romania. The Allies asked the other Balkan nations what they would be willing to cede to Bulgaria, and the answer was nothing. Bulgaria really wanted Macedonia and Dobruja, things only the Central Powers could promise. It was just that simple. Greece, Serbia, and Romania would not agree to give Bulgaria territory to join the Allies, and the Central Powers said, "You can have everything you lost and more." But what of the people of Bulgaria? What did they think? Well, they were pretty demoralized after the Second Balkan War, with the loss of prestige and, of course, the huge casualties, and the loss of southern Dobruja was a real major loss, since it accounted for most of Bulgaria's wheat production. So the government did all it could to shift blame for the Second Balkan War from King Ferdinand to the former allies of Serbia and Greece, popularizing the phrase "Sayuznici razbojnici," thieving allies. And though it was true that they hadn't returned land they'd promised, Ferdinand's haste to attack was the catalyst for destruction. In much of the country, this PR campaign was a success, especially in Sofia, the capital. Between 1878 and 1912, an estimated
Is Sofia on the Black Sea, or is it more inland?
600,000 refugees from eastern Thrace and Macedonia came to Bulgaria. Most of the Macedonian ones settled in and around Sofia, which hadn't been a major city until then. Actually, its population in the 1870s wasn't much more than 10,000. By 1912, three-quarters of the city was made up of the refugees, who were naturally eager to see their old homeland liberated. There were even illegal PR stunts, like this one. On February 14, 1915, Ottoman Interior Minister Talat Pasha arranged to have a bomb planted in the Sofia casino, which killed 4 people. The blame for this was
4 people? I mean, it's terrible those lives were lost, but a bomb?
Placed on pro-Allied forces, and was, of course, to sway public opinion further against the Allies. You could see by the summer of 1915 that the writing was on the wall. Serbia and Greece were still the enemy. The Central Powers could offer territory from defeated nations. The Allies could not. It was only a matter of time before Bulgaria joined the war. Okay, that was just a brief outline. You'll see how things went for Bulgaria during
I forgot it was a short video.
War I in our regular weekly episodes. And if you'd like to know a bit more about the Balkan Wars, you can check out our Prelude to War specials right here. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. See you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.
My name is Indy.
Okay. All right, awesome. All right, I might do another video later today. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya.